So the conceivability argument and the divisibility argument are arguments on Descartes' part that the mind and the body exist separately from each other. In other words, that substance dualism is true. Descartes sort of thought it natural to then assume that, of course, they interact. He says, after all, I have a thought and my body, acts on that thought and something happens to my body and I have thoughts based on it. So neither of these arguments discusses whether, in fact, the two things interact. Descartes, on some level, took it for granted that they did. Well, as he is laying out his ideas and talking to people about them, he had a letter from a friend of his about a problem she saw. Princess Elizabeth of Bohemia was friends with Descartes and read his papers and his work and thought about it and talked to him about it. And upon reading his ideas on Cartesian dualism, she wrote to him with a problem, and it's what we now call the problem of interaction. It goes like this. We understand how physical things interact with each other. We have even, the most basic rudimentary understanding of physics, which I kind of fall into, understands, how physical things interact. You have ball A and you have ball B, and ball A moves and strikes ball B and ball B moves. We understand that there is, mass in ball A that exerts force on ball B, resulting in a transfer of energy, causing ball B to move. But how do physical and non-physical things interact with each other? That's Princess Liz's question. It's just not clear how physical and non-physical things would interact. Even if we have, ball A, and we can even say that's our body, and it moves and it, is ready to exert force, ball B is non-physical. It doesn't have mass. It can't come in contact with ball A. Energy can't be transferred from ball A to ball B because ball B is non-physical. So if I've got physical stuff going on in my body and I need to, let me try that again. So I've got physical stuff going on in my body, okay? Messages being sent throughout my body, my brain does stuff as a result of my stubbing my toe. Well, then I have this feeling of pain in the non-physical mind, okay? All of that stuff going on in the body caused that feeling of pain. Well, how did it cause it? Because it couldn't exert force, it couldn't transfer energy to the non-physical mind. Likewise, the non-physical mind, being in pain, starts a process in the body of muscles expanding and contracting, and I jump up and I say, ouch. Well, the non-physical mind, being in pain, can't transfer energy or exert force on the body because the non-physical mind doesn't have mass. So it's simply not clear how the physical and the non-physical causally interact with each other. Does that make sense? This is, in fact, the single largest problem with Cartesian dualism. This question of how the two interact. It seems incredibly intuitive to say, yeah, things happen in my body and it causes stuff to happen in my mind, and stuff happens in my mind and it causes stuff to happen in my body. It seems very intuitive when we think about it just on an everyday, what we do sort of basis. But when we try to figure out how the two actually cause things to happen in each other, we don't have an explanation. Now, Descartes, well, first Descartes said, "Oh, Liz, women shouldn't think about such things." Descartes was less than a fan of women being philosophers. But other people pressed him on it, and finally he says, look, if you really need an explanation, it happens in the pineal gland. Okay? Descartes' explanation was that it occurs in the pineal gland, which is in the brain. Well, at the time, nobody knew what the pineal gland did. They knew it was there, they just didn't know what its function was. Now, we of course now know that the pineal gland excretes hormones that are involved in sleep regulation, and I think something having to do with memory. But even if it occurs in the pineal gland, that doesn't explain how it works. So it remains the biggest problem for Cartesian dualism, how the non-physical and physical interact. And if you can come up with an answer to that, you will get tenure. You won't get much more, but you'll get tenure. Okay, does that make sense?